Ambassador Rao, I think I know what you will say to whether India sees itself as a middle power. I sense a pushback from Ambassador Delphin as well. But I wanted to also ask you very specifically, sometimes when I'm speaking to diplomats based in Delhi, they always say, it's very confusing for us. India is part of the Quad, it's part of the BRICS and the SCO, it has one foot in one boat, it has one foot in another boat. So if the saying goes, where you sit decides where you stand, where does India sit?
Thank you, Suhasini. And talking about a career in diplomacy, I think I wouldn't exchange it for anything else even today. Although I do respect the work you do as journalists, and particularly what you do.
We're richer for that choice that you made.
Thank you. When it comes to, just to take off from what you said, who do we save the last waltz for, right? There are many takers. I was thinking of what I would say in answer to your first question about the state of the world today and where India finds itself. So I would focus on 5 or 6 propositions in this regard. And my opening proposition would be that we are, as my distinguished diplomatic colleagues here said, we're not really witnessing the birth of a new world order. And I'm reminded of those lines from Yeats, written more than 100 years ago, "What rough beast slouches towards Bethlehem to be born?" And we are really seeing an erosion, perhaps, of the old world order. The post-Cold War moment is definitely over. The institutions remain, and we can vouch for that, and as High Commissioner Green said just now, but their authority, I believe, is contested today. And power is diffusing. It's diffused, but it's not disappearing. The real question is about whether power can be accompanied by legitimacy. Secondly, I think the point I'd like to make is that we're in a world of intermediaries. I would rather use that term rather than a middle power. Or recently, I think one of the East European international affairs specialists spoke of the concept of the middleman, but I really wouldn't like to use that either. Because the emerging world order is not really multipolar, as we'd like to very often use that terminology. It's really intermediated, in my view. And the US and China, I wish I'd been here for the Chinese ambassadors panel, but the US and China remain indispensable. There's no doubt about that. But the influence, if you can use that term, increasingly belongs to states that can communicate across divides. And I'd like to emphasize that. The ability to communicate across divides. For instance, Qatar, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, Turkey, and in certain circumstances, even Pakistan, have demonstrated this. So my soundbite would be, in today's world, connectivity may matter as much as capability. The other point I want to put forward is that the Iran war has changed the conversation. I mean, we wouldn't have been speaking on such lines perhaps if we'd met in December, but February 27th has changed all that. Hormuz reminds us that geography still matters. A conflict in West Asia immediately becomes a global economic issue, and energy, shipping, inflation, remittances, important for a country such as ours, and supply chains, again vital for India, connect the Gulf directly to Asia. And that really brings West Asia and the situation there right to the threshold of what we call the Indo-Pacific. So it's not a very comfortable situation. It's not a distant theater. This is all a part of our extended strategic neighborhood today. And why does India matter in all this? We're not a traditional middle power, as you would define the term, We're not yet a superpower, obviously, but I would like to define India as a pivotal power, because we speak to Washington, we engage Moscow, obviously we do, we all know that. Old relationships matter. We maintain ties with Iran. We have deep partnerships with the Gulf, and we're active in the Quad and BRICS. So our value lies not in choosing sides, but in preserving channels of communication. Now, how do we reinterpret strategic autonomy? Again, it's almost a cliche, the way it's dropped into conversations.
It's coming back.
It comes
Every
back.
time we think it's over, we hear it again.
Absolutely. It's like Banco's ghost, I think. So strategic autonomy is not passive neutrality in my definition of the term. I'm not in Delhi Durast, as I would say. But to me, it means engaging all sides, retaining independent judgment, most important, and preserving the freedom of action. So it's not about sitting on the fence. It's about keeping your balance when others are falling off theirs.